motherfucking morning. How's everyone doing? Let me turn up the brightness. Let there be light. Cobb in the morning. Cobb in the morning. Hope everyone is having a beautiful Monday morning. Cheers. You like my, what do you think, guys? You like it? I finally got my grill, baby. Yeah? No? It's not, excuse me. It's a challenge to talk with the grill. It's not real, it's not solid gold, it's real. But it's gold plated. I didn't spend an outrageous amount. But I'm blessed. It's something I always wanted. You know, happy birthday to me. I don't have any family anymore, So, it's nice to treat yourself, you know what I mean? And time for a little truffle hunt. Cheers. Mm-hmm. The sacrament. How about? We're about ready to go into town, get some dog food for the Scoobies. Mm-hmm. Cheers. Cheers. Huh? Bye-bye. Mm-hmm. Little kava. Wash it down. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. How are you? How are you doing? Good morning. There's Boxer. Can you guys see Boxer? Boxer, good morning. Boxer. Oh, my sweetie. Oh, we're gonna do a bath today. I got some nice soap for Boxer. She's interesting. She cleans herself like a cat. Only dog I've really seen. Oh, Boxer. Oh, she's so sweet. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed. Oh, bless you. Hi, you sneezing? Mm-hmm. Good morning. How are you? Cheers. Yeah, you doing good? How's everything in your, chewing on the truffles? Excuse me. Wash it down. A little kava. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But yeah, I just wanted to check in real quick and wish everyone well. And I wanted to talk about for a minute, my song "Come Back to Life." The elites, they want us to be dumbed down. You ever heard that song? Lupe Fiasco, Dumb It Down. They want us to dumb it down. They don't want free thinkers. You know what I mean? Let me take out my grill. Excuse me. Let me take out my grill, baby. Huh? I got another grill I need to pick up. Propane grill. I don't know how Paul Wall talks with this thing. With this grill, baby. It's a challenge. It's all good, though, baby. Put it back in my case. Oh, yeah. Remember Breaking Bad? When they find, what was the name of that guy? Tico. Was it Tico? Remember when they find his grill? I think his name was Tico, the guy that crushes up meth with a giant Bowie knife. But let me show you guys real quick. I'm blessed. Let me show you. What? Here, let me take it out. Got it in a little case. Yeah, but you know, back to my point, we can come back to life. And life is not, you know, it's sipping on something healing. And food is medicine. I'm blessed to have this. I'm not showing off. I'm just saying I'm blessed. It's a beautiful thing. There's gold over in New Mexico everywhere. Yeah, I look like a Viking. I'd like to do my DNA analysis, but I don't trust sending out my blood. You know, they might make a clone of me. I found gold over in New Mexico, though. There's over 100 million metric tons of gold in New Mexico. But anyway, we can come back to life. You know? We don't always have to be in a big hurry and a big worry like society wants us. We don't have to get approval from others. You know, I mean, if you're hurting people and you're, you know, hurting kids and all that, yeah, say something. That's enough. You know, that shit slides all the time, actually. You know? That shit slides all the time. But anyway, you know, we can come back to life, and it starts with good food. You know, we are what we eat. And you know, sipping on teas and healing herbs instead of alcohol and high fructose corn syrup and all this garbage. You know, a lot of kids are addicted to candy. And candy is not just cane sugar or something like that. It's full of all kinds of bullshit. I only ate 2 Reese's, you know, regular size last night. I had acid reflux, bad indigestion. I mean, my stomach's just like, what is this? You know what I mean? The body and mind and spirit, it's all very complex, and you know, we're all far from understanding what it truly is. You know, how you know, everything is run by the spirit, though. A good spirit, you know, or a bad. You can feed the good wolf or the bad wolf. There's an old story of this elder tells his kid, the kid says, between the battle of a good wolf and a bad wolf, who wins? He says, whichever wolf you feed, you know. But we can all define what good and bad is, right? Aleister Crowley, would just say it is what it is, and there is no good or bad and this and that. That's not right. The cult I broke out of, Sri Gary Olson Masterpath, he gives all of his students that are just waiting on a whim, like my mom. My mom would give up all of her money and health and everything just to lay her hands and worship this doofus, this narcissistic prick. But for a long time, he would make us feel like we're nothing. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You're not your emotions. No, we are all of it. You know what I mean? He makes people feel so alienated, and the elites do the same thing. Overstimuli, hypersexualization. I'm not making this up, but a lot of cats, I'm 42, so I'm old school. Back in the day, we would see a good-looking lady, and it was magical. I mean, it still is, how a good-looking woman can bring can raise the spirits in the room. It's amazing, but um, it's all over the place now, where it's just right in your face, and there is too much. There's you know a piece of good chocolate cake is nice, right? You eat the whole thing. You can't have too much of a good thing. You can't have too much of something. You know, I remember before my dad passed, I was driving this old beat up truck, but I had a Camaro too, um, and I had my Orkin truck. I was working for Orkin. Mostly, I was blessed. I had mostly all the time. I just was driving the Orkin truck, and I pick up groceries on the way home from my route. But anyway, the point was is that life was much more simple, and when I was just I was doing okay, but more money, more problems, that kind of thing. Um, there's something to be said about just I remember even before that where I was actually in my 20s, and I got laid off from this job where I got heavy metal poisoning right before I started Orkin Pest Control. And I was blessed. They let me sleep on this couch. Um, her name is Mandy. And beautiful lady. She let me sleep there and on the couch. And but I tell you what, that was some of the most. That was right after I got away from my ex-girlfriend, who was just insane. God bless her, but I'm crazy too. But she was, you know, she put a hole in one of my guitars with the screwdriver and said someone broke in, and then said ghosts were writing stuff on the wall, and she was writing stuff on the wall, and just totally crazy, and but she's still doing good. She's actually very intelligent and doing well for herself right now. So I found out, so that's good. I don't wish any harm even on my enemies. The more you go truffle hunting, you realize that excuse me, you just want to you don't want to have bad vibes anymore. You don't want to be angry. But anyway, all this stuff over this hyper in your face, dumbing it down, just accepting, right? Just like when I was a kid and being beat up with a 3 foot stick, and I thought it was. They would say, no, that's not abuse. Others think, hi Timmy. You hear Timmy? They would say, oh, that's not abuse. Abuse is when you put a kid's hands on the hot stove. I tell you what, I'd rather have my hands on a hot stove than what I had to go through. Imagine being whipped with a 3 foot stick by a six when you're only about 3 feet yourself. You're about 9 years old, and you know your mom puts you on Ritalin, so you're malnourished, and you have to ask for just something to get out of the refrigerator. You know what I mean? It was fucked, and they treated their bloods way different than me and my brother Fred. Fred, I'm gonna find you. I have faith. I'm gonna find you. But I mean, it's like it's horrible. In a concentration camp, they get used to it. Well, I guess this is life, right? You know, Mike foster the people. You're not fostering the people, bro. You're all about money and your ego, and just you know, you're telling everyone to close their eyes and sip on some poison and sing it with me. I'm all right, sipping on some poison. I guess that's the way it is. You know, no. Like Bob Marley said, preacher man will look for his heaven after earth, but you don't something like you don't know what life is worth. You can, and life isn't an illusion either. Sri Gary Olson, Master Path, and the cult I broke out of, and my mom and my little brother and little sister. Life is not an illusion. My dogs aren't an illusion. Excuse me. But you know what I mean? Once you say life is an illusion, and that this place is, it's just the way it is, it's a dump, right? Elon Musk is going to go live on Mars, because you ever seen that movie Wall-E, where everyone, the humans just destroy the planet and they're just kicking back on lounge chairs, virtual reality up in, you know, space, but space is just, that's silly. You can't, the Van Allen belt, right? You can't go through it. The Van Halen belt. Don't worry, I'm not driving today. Truffle hunting, meditating, working on some more music. But life is an illusion. Is not an illusion. I know the algorithm is going to pick this up, and Sri Gary Olson of Masterpath, he's gonna see the notification that I mentioned him. Yeah, I mentioned you, you jerk. You know, enough said on that though. But I'm not gonna get negative. But life is it's precious, and like John Hooks of Illuminati Congo said, I treat my body as a temple. It's not a rental. You know, Sri Gary Olson, a master path, and teaches thousands and thousands of his students that life is an illusion. We're not the body, and just, you know, so they feel good when their body is wasting away. You know what I mean? And like I said, I've never seen more alcoholics and chain smokers than a master path get together. And we're not talking just having a sip. I remember going to this party, they invited me, and this was at a time I didn't start drinking till um, I broke out of the cult, and my mom, I had to tell my mom that all the abuse in the family, and so that really hurt breaking away from my family. But I had to be honest. I had to be truthful about the abuse going on everywhere in the family. But I didn't start drinking till then. But trying to kill the pain and trauma. Just I put it under the rug for a long time as a child. It all came up. I guess that's what they call the midlife crisis or something. But yeah, I went to this party, right? They invited me, and I would go outside and smoke my weed, and be meditating, and just it wasn't for me. I didn't like the vibe. I didn't like all that, you know. I grew up one of the, God bless him, but one of the first times I drank some beer. I think second time was my dad at a concert. He gave me some Coors, but I think it was Bud Light or Budweiser out on the reservation, Navajo reservation. There's this place called the Trails, and they'd say, you don't want to walk through there, and especially if you're a white guy. There was a lot of racism. I was dating my ex girlfriend when I was telling you about. That was kind of wild. She was native, beautiful, absolutely beautiful girl. But they didn't like. There was a couple guys that came after me with bats. You know what I mean? They were trying to chase us down with bats. Me and my girl. But anyway, we're walking through the trails, and they're like, "Hey, you want some Budweiser?" And a lot of times these natives, a lot of these guys and the women too, they're very tall. They're very, I'm not tall at all, and I don't care. It's all good. But very big people, very strong, And a lot of times the guys, they would get like right up in my face and just like, my dad would do the same thing. He'd be drinking a lot. He'd just be overcome by this dark spirit, And but anyway, that I was at this party with all these, cult students, master path, and I'll never forget. There's this one guy. He'd I hope he's doing good, but he'd been a student for a long time, and I remember watching him. I was upstairs at this house. There's this big house over in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I seen him, and he was so wasted that when you're just like in a manic zone, and I think he smoked cigarettes too. But so when you add that with alcohol, you get this synergistic effect. It's kind of like cocaine or something. If you add caffeine to alcohol, it's like cocaine. There's studies that shows it's almost very similar. But anyway, he just coming through and just stumbling all over and just, totally shit faced. And then I was kind of, jovial. I was laughing at him, and I said, "Dude, you all right?" And he's like, "You got all mad, like, And I tell you what, a lot of these people, the cult, they're very dark, narcissistic, dumbed down people. No offense, but um, when the student becomes the master, you know what I mean? When the student becomes a teacher, I'm not going to teach anyone, but now I know that I know more than, you know, Sri Gary Olson, Master Path, I used to look up to, and his fellow, he's got a few higher ups over there. It's like Scientology. It's a bunch of bullshit, but they basically plagiarized a bunch of Eastern teachings, threw it in a book like a big soup, and capitalized on it. It's much like my other video the other day of people trying to capitalize on medicine. You know what I mean? It's totally outrageous. You know what I mean? And the gods are not happy. You know, the plants are alive. Vegetarians say that, you know, um, they're eating vegetables because it's not alive. It's alive. You know what I mean? It's all energy. Everything is alive. So, and I eat meat, you know, and dogs need meat. Um, Especially when you quit drinking, you need good protein, you know. And I bless the animals. Don't take them advantage, you know. And just being very thankful and humble for everything that I have, you know. And not dumbing it down so much where just, give me more, 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 you know what I mean? Because like I said, back in the day, I was doing just good when I was couch surfing. I wake up, make my bed, listen to some reggae. I didn't even drink coffee. Have 2 or 3 puffs of my Mexican swag. My tolerance was so low that I just get lifted, you know? Get into a great mood in the morning. Work on my breathing. I didn't even know I was working on breathing when I was singing. Go out, play my guitar, work on my music, my journal. I didn't have much, but I had a lot, you know? The meek, right? What does Christ say? The meek, the humble. Howdy, good girl. Let's go see Timmy. But that's all, folks. Hope everyone has a great motherfucking day. Gotta go get some dog food. Huh? I made up that song. You guys ready for some ribs? Oh yeah. Ribs came out good. Huh. All right. Excuse me. Let's get the ribs going. How about you? Let's go for a walk. And everyone have a great day. All right. Bless up.